Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. The loudest woman in the room is not always the strongest. Sometimes it's the woman who says nothing at all who's holding all the power. Because the world underestimates silence. They confuse it with fear. They confuse it with surrender. But make no mistake, a silent woman isn't hiding. She's being hidden. Not by fear, but by force. By protection you can't see. By wisdom you can't measure. And if you're wise, you'll pay attention to her silence. Because that silence, that's her superpower. You want to know why you should stay with me until the end of this message? Because if you're a woman who's been misunderstood, who's been labeled too quiet, too passive, too strange, this is for you. And by the end of this, you'll walk differently. A silent woman is not weak. She is not silent because she has nothing to say, no power to fight, or no courage to speak. She is silent because she understands the value of timing. She has learned that not every moment requires her voice. Not every insult needs a clapback. Not every storm needs her commentary. Some things are best handled by silence, by stillness, because her silence is not a void. It's a strategy. The world often praises loudness. We live in an age where people believe if you're not talking, you're irrelevant. If you're not shouting your opinion, posting every move, arguing your point, then you must be insignificant. But a wise woman knows better. She knows that power doesn't always make noise. Real power knows when to act, and more importantly, when to wait. That kind of woman can walk into a room, say nothing, and still shift the atmosphere. Why? Because her silence is rooted in strength, not fear. She's the kind of woman that unnerves the insecure. They can't figure her out. They don't know what she's thinking, and that drives them crazy. They mistake her peace for passivity. They try to provoke her, to make her prove herself. But she doesn't rise to it. Not because she's incapable, but because she's unbothered. She's chosen stillness. She's chosen protection. She's chosen not to let the world pull her into chaos. Because silence is a decision, and it's a hard one. In a world addicted to noise, staying silent requires discipline. When you know you could win the argument, but you let it go, that's strength. When you know you could defend yourself, but you choose peace instead, that's power. When you could expose someone's lies, but you walk away, that's control. A silent woman knows this. She's made peace with not proving herself. She's not silent because she's unsure. She's silent because she's sure of herself. And that silence becomes her covering. It's her armor, her protection. Because when you're quiet, you're underestimated. And when you're underestimated, you're overlooked by enemies who don't even see the strength you carry. A silent woman is protected, not just by what she doesn't say, but by what she doesn't allow. She doesn't allow drama into her space. She doesn't allow negativity into her heart. She doesn't allow people to control her energy. And because she doesn't open the door to nonsense, she doesn't have to fight off what never got in. She has learned that peace is more valuable than proving a point, that protecting her spirit matters more than correcting someone's perception. She knows that when she holds her tongue, she holds her power. Every time she doesn't react, she builds more strength. Every time she doesn't engage, she guards her energy. Her silence is an act of self-love, of emotional intelligence, of spiritual awareness. She isn't running from conflict, she's rising above it. And don't think for a second that she doesn't feel, that she isn't hurting, that she isn't aware. She knows what's happening around her. She just chooses not to let the world drag her into its chaos. She chooses to pause, to observe, to reflect. Her silence is not empty, it's full of understanding. And understanding changes everything. Because while others are speaking, reacting, defending, she is listening, she is learning, she is preparing, and preparation is a quiet process. The strongest women are not the ones who make the most noise, they are the ones who prepare in silence, grow in private, and emerge in power. You don't see her struggle, but you'll see her success. You don't hear her pain, but you'll witness her purpose. She knows that her silence is speaking for her. It's saying, I don't need to prove my worth. It's saying, I know who I am. It's saying, I'm not here to impress, I'm here to impact. And that impact, that presence, that calm, it unnerves people. They don't know how to handle a woman who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't explain. They're not used to a woman whose peace is unshakable. That's why her silence is a strategy. It's not just something she does. It's a way she moves through the world. She doesn't need to control the storm. She just learns how to stand still in it. And when the storm passes, she's still standing, still rising, still glowing. So understand this. A silent woman is not weak. She is wise. She is focused. She is protected, not because she's hiding, but because she's being held by something greater, by something unseen. Her silence is not an absence of strength. It is the very evidence of it. She's not quiet because she's powerless. She's quiet because she's powerful beyond measure. And when the time comes for her to speak, her words won't be for validation, they'll be for victory. Because everything she's been through, everything she's endured in silence, will come out in purpose. So if you're that woman, don't let the world make you feel small for being silent. Don't let them rush your response or question your quiet. Your silence is not a flaw, it's a force. It is the mark of a woman who knows who she is and where she's going. Let them talk, let them assume, let them underestimate. You stay silent, you stay focused, because the silent woman thinks she's not just quiet. She's covered. She's chosen. She's unstoppable. Stillness. In a world that moves fast, speaks fast, reacts even faster, stillness is a rare and misunderstood strength. The woman who chooses to be still, to be silent, to move with intention instead of impulse, is often the one who holds the most power. The kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be known. The kind of strength that doesn't flex, it just is. A silent woman creates strength not by force but by restraint. She's not driven by the need to prove anything to anyone. She doesn't rush to respond, doesn't scramble to be heard. She listens, she observes, she reflects. While others are reacting, she's aligning. While others are speaking just to fill the silence, she's thinking, sharpening her awareness, building inner peace. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Stillness is not the absence of power, it's the control of it. It's having the fire and choosing not to burn. It's knowing you could speak and silence the room, but you wait until the moment actually matters. The woman who understands this has graduated from noise. She no longer needs attention, approval, or applause. Her validation isn't external, it's internal. Her identity is rooted, her spirit is calm, and that calm, that stillness, it speaks louder than any words ever could. Stillness is strength because it refuses to be moved by chaos. The woman who embodies stillness has trained her emotions. She has learned that not every insult deserves a reaction, that not every confrontation requires her presence. She has mastered the art of letting fools talk, letting drama pass, and letting storms rage without losing her balance. That kind of emotional discipline is rare. That kind of emotional discipline is powerful, and it scares people who thrive on confusion. The still woman knows that movement doesn't always mean progress. She knows that rushing doesn't always mean arriving. That sometimes the most powerful position you can take is to sit still, stay quiet, and wait for everything to align. Because she trusts the process. She understands the flow. And she knows that patience is not passive, it's preparation. There's a quiet confidence in her. She doesn't need to explain where she's going because she knows she's headed somewhere greater. She's not wasting energy on temporary battles. She's investing it in long-term purpose. And purpose doesn't shout. Purpose doesn't panic. Purpose doesn't perform for attention. It just moves with clarity, with courage, and with consistency. Stillness gives her vision. It allows her to see what others miss. When you're quiet, you can hear things others don't. You can sense energy, read intentions, feel the atmosphere shift. A silent woman picks up on what's real and what's fake. She can see manipulation coming before it speaks. She knows when to move, and she knows when to let life move for her. That's why she doesn't rush. That's why she doesn't chase. Her stillness has become her strategy. She doesn't compete. She doesn't beg. She doesn't argue with people who don't value her. She doesn't try to convince people to see her worth. She knows who she is, and that knowing allows her to walk away from anything that disturbs her peace. And that peace, once it's built, is non-negotiable. The silent, still woman protects it at all costs. It's important to understand that this stillness wasn't given to her. It was earned. She's been through battles. She's cried silent tears. She's been betrayed in silence, endured heartbreak in silence, healed in silence. And it's in that silence where her strength was formed. Not in the spotlight, not in applause, but in solitude. In the quiet places where no one was watching, she rebuilt herself. And now, her stillness is not emptiness, it's evidence. Evidence that she survived. Evidence that she rose. Evidence that she doesn't need the noise to make noise. Her presence alone speaks volumes. Her calm commands respect because she's not just sitting still, she's centered, she's anchored. She's grounded in a way most people will never understand. And when the moment is right, she will speak, she will act, she will move. But it will be powerful, precise, undeniable. Until then, she's still. Not stuck, not frozen, not afraid, just still. And that stillness, that's where her strength lives. So when you see a woman who doesn't rush, who doesn't react, who doesn't reveal her every thought and move, don't mistake that for weakness. Look again. What you're seeing is a woman who's done the work, a woman who's been through enough to know that peace is priceless, a woman who's mastered herself to the point that nothing outside her can disturb what's inside her. That's strength. That's resilience. That's power. The still woman doesn't need to prove she's powerful. She just is. And when the world finally quiets down long enough to listen, they'll realize she's been speaking all along. It's not with words, but with presence, with grace, with strength that doesn't move, even when the world does. A silent woman walks through life with a shield the world cannot see, not made of steel or stone, but of discernment, of wisdom, of restraint. Her silence is not just an act, it is a filter, a protection system forged through experience, hardship, and growth. She's learned that speaking too soon, reacting too quickly, and sharing too much can open the door to the wrong energies, the wrong people, the wrong outcomes. So now she guards her words like treasure. She lets her silence speak on her behalf, and in doing so, she builds a life that is not only protected, but powerful. People often misunderstand silence. They think it means weakness. They assume it means submission. But a silent woman isn't hiding, she's observing. She's not afraid. She's wise. She's not being passive. She's choosing peace over provocation because she understands the cost of engaging with everything. She understands the value of her energy, her time, her emotional presence, and she refuses to invest those things in people and situations that don't honor her. There's something deeply sacred about a woman who doesn't expose herself to chaos. She doesn't explain herself to people who misunderstand her. She doesn't argue with those who twist her words. She doesn't try to defend her worth to anyone who questions it. Instead, she retreats, not out of fear, but out of clarity. She knows her peace is her power, and she will not trade it for the approval of anyone. When a woman chooses silence, she creates space for discernment. In that space, she hears what isn't being said. She sees through the fake smiles, the hidden agendas, the superficial connections. She's no longer fooled by loud words or dramatic gestures. She reads the room. She listens with her spirit. And most of all, she trusts what she feels. Because the quiet doesn't lie, it reveals. Her silence protects her from manipulation. It shields her from entangling herself with people who thrive on chaos and confusion. The woman who speaks too soon gives others the blueprint to attack her. But the silent woman, she gives them nothing. No reaction to manipulate, no weakness to exploit, no emotion to feed off of. That silence becomes her power move, her boundary, her line in the sand. She knows when to walk away without a word. She knows when to disengage, to disappear, to detach, and do it without drama. That's real power. That's maturity. That's what protection looks like. Because when you've been wounded by words, betrayed by conversations you should never had, and misunderstood by people who never took the time to know your heart, you learn. You learn to pull back. You learn to preserve yourself. You learn to let your silence become your security system. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her. Not everyone is worthy of hearing her truth, knowing her plans, or witnessing her vulnerability. Silence allows her to observe who's real without giving them the chance to fake it. It allows her to move in private, to heal in peace, to grow without the interference of judgment or jealousy. And in that privacy, she becomes untouchable. People try to provoke her. They'll say she's too quiet, too distant, too mysterious, that she's changed. And yes, she has. She's evolved. She's elevated. She stopped showing up for battles that only drain her. She stopped explaining herself to those committed to misunderstanding her. She's done trying to be understood by people who can't even understand themselves. That shift, that silence, that's not detachment, it's direction. She's moving differently because she's thinking differently. She's building something solid. A silent woman builds a life rooted in authenticity. Her relationships are based on depth, not drama. Her goals are driven by purpose, not pressure. Her circle is small, but her peace is massive. That protection, emotional, spiritual, mental, didn't come easy. She had to fight for it. She had to unlearn the habit of oversharing. She had to break the cycle of needing to be heard by everyone. And now she knows that when she guards her silence, she guards her soul. She no longer reacts to everything that tries to pull her out of character. She doesn't explain her healing. She doesn't announce her next move. She lets people assume what they want and keeps building anyway. Her silence allows her to stay grounded, to stay focused, to stay undisturbed by the noise of the world. Because the